Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the In News series. We are going to discuss Article 356 today. Article 356 remains one of the most controversial articles. But why we are discussing it? Because the Prime Minister of India has made certain comments about former Prime Minister of India, Indira Gandhi, how she misused the Article 356 many times. We are not going to delve into the political intricacies of this comment, but of course, from the perspective of your examination, it is important to know the Article 356, origin of it, how it has been misused over the years. Was there some sort of judgment by the Apex Court? We are going to discuss all that in today's episode. Let us move ahead and without any further ado, look at these many important structured subtopics for you. So the news I have already introduced you. What is Article 356, which Prime Minister Modi says Indira Gandhi misused 50 times. Of course, this is 50 times is an exaggerated amount, but of course, I told you we are not going to look into the political intricacies of it. Article 356 empowers the President to withdraw to the Union the executive and legislative power of any state. The President is empowered or has been given powers by this particular article to take the powers of executive as well as legislative nature from the state government to the union government. It gives to the President will give it to the union government when, not like that only, when the President thinks or is satisfied that a situation has arisen in which the government of the state cannot be carried on. Please open up any book of polity that you have and relate it to Article 352 as well as Article 365. Okay, 352, 356, 365, how these are related. Now, this the governments of states are not complying with the Constitution, of course, will be based on the provisions of the Constitution itself. In a layman's term, if a president is satisfied that the state government is not doing its job according to the Constitution, let me take the powers of legislative nature and executive nature and give it to the union government. This is what the president does. Now, who will decide that this has to be done and when? Of course, I told you, president can decide it at any time. But there should be two premises. Either he has or she has been given a report on this matter by the governor of the state, or the president can do it on his own or her own also. Suo motu means by president's discretion here. So it could be a prelim statement that the president can take steps under Article 356 only on the receipt of the report by the governor of the state if he or she has to impose Article 356. But suo motu is also there. For how long this particular, we can say, imposition will be there, that is also questionable. For your prelims examination, president's rule in a state can be imposed for six months at a time. Okay, so you can divide it like 6, 6, 6, 6. And the maximum time duration will be 3 years. That means every 6 months, this president rule has to be revised. For every 6 months, parliamentary approval to impose president's rule will be required again. So, it can go up to 3 years, but not beyond that. Please, more than 3 years for any state to be under president's rule is really horrendous for the political empowerment of the people. So, that is there. Okay. Moving on, now if we talk about is there any exception that this 3-year rule has been breached or the 6-month policy wasn't followed. In the past, president's rule has been extended for significantly longer periods under specific circumstances. If we talk about Punjab, it was under president's rule from 1987 to 1992. This is good 5-year long period. And that was due to growing militancy, so there was an exception. This particular article, which was supposed to be a dead letter according to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, wasn't dead. So it has to be found out where did it get its origin from. It's important that we know about the origin of certain articles, otherwise you won't be able to, first of all, know from where this mindset is coming from. And also, you will also not know, if it is asked in the preliminary examination, you have to know articles of specifically the Government of India Act 1935. So section 93 of the Government of India Act 1935 has, we can say, is the parent of Article 356. Here, it said, if a governor of a province was satisfied that a situation has arisen in which the government of the province cannot be carried on in accordance with the provisions of the Act, he could assume to himself all or any of the powers of the government and discharge those functions in his discretion. The difference here is, also remember, it is the governor of the province and not the governor general or the viceroy. Okay, so that has to be settled first. Secondly, it was there that the province's administration had to be done under the Act itself, and the governor of the province can take the powers to rule in that particular province under the said Act. So here we have to ensure ourselves that viceroy is not there. So it could be asked in your prelims that viceroy gets all the power, and then the viceroy will do everything according to his or her discretion. The governor, however, could not encroach upon the powers of the High Court. This is a very important preliminary fact. Why a particular article was introduced in the Government of India Act? So that controlled democracy could be there. A little bit of autonomy so that the states do not rebel. And also the British can, it can rule at times with an iron fist. So this was the narrative behind this particular article. How was the provision used as a political weapon? Many times. It started when the political landscape of India started changing. That was when the dominance of the Congress, there was a time when Congress was dominant not only at the center but different states as well. But when that started to disintegrate, the government of Congress, the Union government, started using it against the governments of the left and regional parties in the states. Until 1959, Jawaharlal Nehru's government had used this article 6 times. Okay, fine. In the 1960s, it was used 11 times. After Indira Gandhi came to power in 1966, Article 356 was used 7 times between 1967 and 1969 alone. Then between 1970 to 74, it was imposed 19 times. Then post-emergency, the Janata Party government used it in 1977 so that it can dismiss the Congress state governments. When Indira Gandhi returned to power in 1980, her government too imposed precedence rule in 9 states. So that is why this comment was made. Now in 1992-93, the Prime Minister Narasimha Rao dismissed 3 BJP governments in the wake of the demolition of the Babri Masjid, besides Kalyan Singh's government in UP. Now how was this political misuse of Article 356 curbed? It is important that we know something has to be done. This is not democracy. This is pure vendetta. We have to settle this down, the courts thought. So in 1989, the centre dismissed the S.R. Bommai government in Karnataka. In the landmark case of which we study in our polity, the S.R. Bommai versus Union of India case, the Supreme Court discussed the provisions of Article 356 at length. Now, a 9-judge bench in its discretion in 1994 noted the specific instances when precedence rule can be imposed and when it cannot. Article 356 can be invoked in situations of the physical breakdown of the government when there is a hung assembly. Tell me in the comment segment, what is the hung assembly? Whenever you study all these particular things through my segment, try to connect it through your own knowledge as well. Otherwise, it will be a very mundane. I will just come and speak and you will just listen and then you can't retain. So tell me in the comment segment, what is hung assembly? Now, but that it cannot be used without giving the state government a chance to either prove its majority in the House without instances of violent breakdown of the constitutional machinery. So this was the judgment, okay, landmark judgment. I hope you understood this segment properly. That's it. Thank you so much for watching and stay updated.